Okay, now we've got a couple options. We can either do the back derailleur, but we'll leave that. So next we'll put the crank on. So we'll start with the bottom bracket since everything's already routed through the frame. With the G21, we're now looking at threaded T47 standard. I'm opting for a Shimano GRX 11-speed crank. It is a 12-speed system, but the chain, at least for Shimano's spacing, is mostly the same. Just like you could use a 10-speed crank on 11-speed, I'm going with the same for 12-speed. I don't think it'll work with SRAM, but I may regret this decision, but first bike worked in the stand, so we'll see. So put a little bit of grease on there. It should spread out over the threads as we tighten it. So mostly hand tight. And then finish off the BB tool. You gotta be careful there's not much teeth here so you can easily chip the paint. Alright, that's good. Other side, I'll apply a little bit of grease. There's an O-ring here, it should be water sealed. But why not? And grease the threads. And this one's nice enough to tell you which way to tighten it. So the left side should be clockwise, so proper or normal tightening. Now we'll need the cassette in, or the crankset in order to adjust the front derailleur. So we'll do that next. Wet it nicely, spins nicely, good. So for the Shimano crank, you need this little tool to install the end cap, but put the arm on first. Tons of videos of this, so it's probably not a problem. It's on the wrong side, you're not going to see it. Then you're sort of getting that hand tight. Good way to test to make sure it's in all the way is there's a little black tab that you push down. If it goes in, that means you're far enough in. And it's not supposed to have a huge amount of torque on this thing, that's why it's just plastic. Probably in part to make sure you don't over tighten. And then you just tighten up the locking bolts. There we go. Perfect. So now with that set, we can set the front derailleur height. So same tool, we'll bring it down so it's 1 to 2 mils above. So the spacing between the top of the chainring and this outside plate should be about 2 to 3 millimeters. And once you've got that, sort of SRAM red, if you've ever set that up, they've got a nice line painted on the front derailleur, so you get sort of the angle right. No such lines on here that I'm seeing, so just eyeball it. The one thing is the cable is trying to push outwards, so you might have to counteract that and sort of push it backwards. Normally there's a desk cap that you'd slide on the housing. I'm sort of waiting for that. Somehow it got missed, but Yoeleo was sending that quickly, so. you don't get it right, it's an easy thing to just readjust once you get the chain on. Alright, perfect. Everything's on the bike, looking good. More after. And then the back derailleur cable, super straightforward. You can see a little slot, you can go in, catch. What's sort of odd to me is the cable, it's not only this derailleur, but many, they're never angled in the same direction. I feel like it could be better designed. So the straight line coming out from the cable is this way, but it mounts in this direction, so they're sort of off. Not really a problem, but it's just a minor detail. Again, I want to make sure to shift it down. Then a good first test is just to try shifting. Let's see if you've got it tight enough. In the back, front. Perfect. So both derailleurs are moving, so the rest can be dealt with. Perfect. Then you put the end crimps on. The Jaguar comes with black crimps, but I bought some gold ones to match the highlights of the RX. So I can't put one on the front yet because I'm waiting for the dust cap, but I will put one on the back. Nice gold. Alright, perfect. Okay, finishing up. I couldn't wait. I got it out for the weekend. 7 hours of ride time. Everything worked flawlessly. Actually super impressed with the shifting. I'm used to SRAM Red. And I guess SRAM's not particularly known for their good front shifting. But this setup, 11-speed Shimano front crank, 12-speed Shimano chain, and 12-speed Shimano cassette, both the sort of 105 tier, so lower end, worked flawlessly, so I'm super impressed. But I finally got the cable stop for this spot, so we'll cover it up and we'll reset up the front derailleur. So worth noting, the housing goes all the way up to the front derailleur, and when it comes, there's a little tab that the cable goes through, but it sort of hinders the ability for the cable with a cable stop to actually go in. So in my setups, I've just popped it out. You don't really need it. So we'll start with undoing cable. The other nice thing, which has been brought up in other videos, is there is a trim adjustment, which is this bolt here. So just for the sake of making it easier for me to redo it, I'm going to loosen it off. It saddens me because I had the shifting absolutely perfect. So I was almost toying with not putting the cable in, but thought it would be best to redo it. Okay. So pop it out. So what I was missing was this cable stop. It comes with two options, so this is one of them. So this, you can see full housing goes through. The other one has a stop, so maybe like the SRAM front derailleur, where the housing will be stopped here and just the cable comes through. But with this and the Shimano, or at least newer Shimano front derailleurs, we need the housing to go all the way up. I don't think this will fit over the cable stop, so we'll have to take the cable stop off. Or cable end, sorry. So this can be a tight fit because you're looking to get the cable to actually do quite a tight turn. So hopefully I can do this. Let's see. Come on. Let's see. Just getting the bolt started is the tricky part, and then after that, smooth sailing. Again, you never want to torque, especially the smaller bolts with the round end, and it shouldn't go very tight anyway. Just tight enough it won't loosen up with rattling. Alright. So then, end goes back on. Easier to do with a fresh cable when it's all in one piece. Now it's kind of fraying. Alright, got it. Okay, so then we want to insert the cable into the derailleur, so push it into the frame. Again, this can be easier to do if you're setting up for the first time by keeping the derailleur higher up, giving you a little bit more room. But again, I have this sort of dialed in, so I'm not really wanting to switch too much. All right, now. Also forgot to crimp the cable. Went with gold to match the highlights of the RX. So first you want to shift up one that tightens the cable to make sure you're as tight as it needs to be. And you can see we're not getting any shift. Or tight, cable's too loose. So that's where the trim comes in. Again, it's just this nice bolt up top. And because we loosened it off all the way, we've got lots to play with here. So if you start turning and you run out of space to turn, then that means you've got to reset back it all the way off, tighten the cable back up, and try again. Not working great in the stand, but it works better outside. I don't think I can shift it fast enough. Alright, there we go. Awesome. Don't go over how to do the trim adjustment. There's tons of videos online. Sorry, not trim, but high and low, but there's 2 screws sort of behind where this cable tightening screw is to set the high-low. Briefly, I guess you go low to make sure you're just not rubbing on the inside, and then you want to go high to make sure you're not rubbing going in the fastest gear. And then when you go high, you also want to make sure you're still going to be able to shift. If you can't shift once you've set those limits properly, there's a chance the derailleur's not centered. So what I did actually for this one is I just took a marker and drew sort of the lines that SRAM has over the center of each one. To show you, I put a line here just with marker, and then centered that over the chain ring to make sure I got the tilt right, and that seemed to work perfectly. The other thing that I got from Yoeleo was the plastic bracket underneath, so that looks nice now. And I also had an issue where they shipped the R11 weather cover, but it left a little bit of the bolt, so they got me that one as well. So that all came quickly within a week after the initial issues, so very happy with that service. I'm happy to get this out for some more riding.